The forest in Thuringia, central Germany, seemed asleep beneath the pale winter sun of 1944. Snow lay heavy on the fir branches, muffling the distant echoes of war. From above, the valley looked peaceful, a scatter of wooden cottages, a modest church steeple, a few barns surrounded by frozen fields. Smoke rose lazily from chimneys. To Allied reconnaissance pilots, it was nothing more than another German village, unremarkable among thousands. But beneath the painted rooftops, under the cobblestone streets and the chapel's quiet bell tower, roared the hidden heart of one of the Reich's most secret undertakings, a vast underground bomb factory known only by its codename Valentin. What the Allies saw as rustic stillness was in truth a mask, one designed with architectural precision and psychological cunning. Behind the timber facades stood reinforced concrete shells. Beneath the earth stretched miles of tunnels, workshops and loading bays lit by flickering bulbs and filled with the unending hum of machinery. Here, deep underground, hundreds of laborers, prisoners, engineers and conscripts worked under the constant gaze of armed guards, assembling the weapons that were meant to reverse Germany's fading fortune. By the beginning of 1944, the war had turned decisively against Hitler's Reich. Allied bombers controlled the skies, and every factory of importance was a target. The once mighty Luftwaffe, crippled by shortages and fuel starvation, fought a desperate battle to keep production alive. That was when a new idea took hold among German engineers. If their factories could not survive above ground, they would move them beneath it. The project that would become Valentin began not with a general, but with an engineer named Otto Schulze, a quiet man with thin spectacles and an unshakable belief in technical salvation. He proposed transforming the quiet valley of Laucha into a hidden manufacturing complex, an illusion so convincing that even the sharpest Allied eyes would be deceived. With approval from the Ministry of Armaments, the plan was set in motion. Thousands of tons of earth were displaced under cover of night. Concrete bunkers were poured into the foundations of barns and churches, while fake windows and wooden facades were painted above them. The Germans built not only a factory, but an entire performance, a stage play of normal life. Locals who remained in the nearby villages were told little, though rumors spread quickly. Trains arrived at odd hours. Trucks came in with supplies but left lighter than before. Sometimes muffled explosions echoed from underground, as if the mountain itself was breathing. At its core, the hidden facility stretched over 2 miles of subterranean corridors. Each section specialized in a different phase of production, casting bomb casings, fitting detonators, assembling fuses. The air inside was thick with metallic dust and the acrid scent of oil. Electric cables hung like black veins from the ceilings. The laborers, mostly foreign prisoners dragged from occupied territories, worked 12-hour shifts under flickering light. Their skin took on a gray hue from the cement and smoke. Many would never again see daylight. Schulze's designs were brilliant but brutal. Ventilation shafts were disguised as wells. Air intake towers were hollowed-out silos. Even the sound of the machinery was masked. Acoustic engineers placed thick layers of soil and hay above the roofs to deaden vibrations detectable from Allied reconnaissance microphones. To the naked eye, Valentin was no more than a sleepy hamlet in the snow. But there was one thing the camouflage could not entirely conceal: the railway line. It sliced across the valley floor like a dark scar, leading into what seemed to be a row of barns. But to those who knew the code, the tracks ended in massive armored doors, behind which lay the loading bays for bomb transport. From there, finished munitions were shipped to air bases across Germany, some destined for the V-1 flying bomb program, others for conventional bombing runs that still terrorized British cities. The entire operation existed on a knife's edge. Allied intelligence was relentless, sifting through aerial photographs, decoding intercepted messages, chasing whispers from the resistance. By late 1944, British analysts at RAF Medmenham, the secret photo interpretation center, had begun noticing peculiar inconsistencies in the Laucha region. Shadows that didn't align, chimneys without smoke. a pattern of traffic too heavy for a village of its size. Among them was Flight Lieutenant Edward Mallory, a young intelligence officer with a mathematician's eye for geometry and a quiet obsession with photographic truth. One December morning, while examining a high-altitude reconnaissance photo, he noticed something strange. A patch of farmland where the snow never seemed to settle. Heat, he realized, was rising from below. The picture nagged at him. He compared it to earlier shots. Same houses, same fields, but in each successive image, the patterns of light subtly shifted, as if the village itself were breathing differently. Mallory brought his suspicions to his superior. "It's not a village," he said quietly. "It's a disguise." Skepticism filled the room. By late '44, false alarms were common. The Germans were masters of deception, and many supposed secret sites turned out to be decoys, painted airfields, inflatable tanks, empty hangars. But Mallory persisted. He requested new sorties, lower altitude, sharper film. What came back confirmed his fear. Faint glimmers of metal beneath the thatched roofs, railway spurs that vanished under barns, and, most telling of all, regular puffs of steam from vents hidden in farmyards. It was enough for Bomber Command to take interest. A single telegram crossed from intelligence to operations, and soon the illusion of Laucha would be tested by fire. In January 1945, the weather over Germany was cruel. Blizzards swept across the skies, grounding entire squadrons for days. Still, the orders were clear. When the clouds broke, Valentin would burn. Crews of Lancaster and Halifax bombers began rehearsing attack routes over English countryside mock-ups, flying low and tight in anticipation of the mission. Back in Thuringia, inside the tunnels, the workers sensed the approaching storm. Air raids were common elsewhere, but rumors of Allied breakthroughs in the West made them restless. Some whispered that the Americans were only weeks away. Others clung to hope that surrender might spare them. But the SS guards allowed no weakness. Anyone caught slowing down was beaten or worse. Schulze, meanwhile, pressed on. He knew the end was near, but could not stop, not out of loyalty to Hitler, but to his creation. The factory had become his obsession, a testament to German ingenuity under siege. He spent his nights in the control room, poring over blueprints while distant artillery rumbled like thunder beyond the hills. Then on the night of February 8, 1945, the calm broke. Among them was Flight Lieutenant Edward Mallory, a young intelligence officer with a mathematician's eye for geometry and a quiet obsession with photographic truth. One December morning, while examining a high-altitude reconnaissance photo, he noticed something strange. A patch of farmland where the snow never seemed to settle. Heat, he realized, was rising from below. The picture nagged at him. He compared it to earlier shots. Same houses, same fields, but in each successive image, the patterns of light subtly shifted, as if the village itself were breathing differently. Mallory brought his suspicions to his superior. "It's not a village," he said quietly. "It's a disguise." Skepticism filled the room. By late '44, false alarms were common. The Germans were masters of deception, and many supposed secret sites turned out to be decoys, painted airfields, inflatable tanks, empty hangars. But Mallory persisted. He requested new sorties, lower altitude, sharper film. What came back confirmed his fear. Faint glimmers of metal beneath the thatched roofs, railway spurs that vanished under barns, and, most telling of all, regular puffs of steam from vents hidden in farmyards. It was enough for Bomber Command to take interest. A single telegram crossed from intelligence to operations, and soon the illusion of Laucha would be tested by fire. In January 1945, the weather over Germany was cruel. Blizzards swept across the skies, grounding entire squadrons for days. Still, the orders were clear. When the clouds broke, Valentin would burn. Crews of Lancaster and Halifax bombers began rehearsing attack routes over English countryside mock-ups, flying low and tight in anticipation of the mission. Back in Thuringia, inside the tunnels, the workers sensed the approaching storm. Air raids were common elsewhere, but rumors of Allied breakthroughs in the West made them restless. Some whispered that the Americans were only weeks away. Others clung to hope that surrender might spare them. But the SS guards allowed no weakness. Anyone caught slowing down was beaten or worse. Schulze, meanwhile, pressed on. He knew the end was near, but could not stop, not out of loyalty to Hitler, but to his creation. The factory had become his obsession, a testament to German ingenuity under siege. He spent his nights in the control room, poring over blueprints while distant artillery rumbled like thunder beyond the hills. Then, on the night of February 8, 1945, the calm broke. The first tremor came just after midnight, a low vibration that rolled through the valley, rattling windows and shaking frost from branches. Then came another, closer. Within moments, the night exploded. Allied bombers swept in from the northwest, their engines a deep, rolling growl. The villagers awoke to the shriek of sirens. Searchlights clawed at the sky, finding nothing through the snow. The first bombs fell near the railway line, erupting in pillars of fire. The earth heaved. Inside the tunnels, alarms wailed as concrete dust filled the air. Workers dove for cover, clutching helmets, praying for mercy that would not come. From above, Mallory's reconnaissance aircraft circled at the edge of the storm, cameras whirring. He watched the valley vanish beneath waves of smoke and flame, his hands trembling slightly on the controls. He had uncovered the secret, but what lay beneath would not be so easily buried. As dawn broke, the once silent forest was a graveyard of smoldering timbers and twisted steel. The village had vanished. Yet even as the smoke cleared, strange figures emerged from below. Soot-streaked survivors stumbling from the collapsed tunnels, their eyes red from dust and terror. Some wept. Others simply stared at the ruins as if unable to believe the illusion had ended. From the air, the truth was finally visible. A labyrinth of shattered concrete chambers stretching deep under the valley floor. Valentine had been real, terrifyingly so, and it had almost escaped detection. For the men who discovered it, the revelation was both triumph and horror. Beneath the ashes of a fake village lay the bones of 1,000 prisoners and the remnants of a dream that had consumed them all, a secret built to prolong a war already lost. And for Otto Schulze, the engineer who built the illusion, the destruction was not an end, but an awakening. He would emerge days later from the wreckage, dazed and broken, walking through the ruins of the life he had hidden so carefully, a ghost among the ghosts of his own creation. The war was not yet over, but the age of shadows, of secret factories and false villages, was beginning to fade beneath the relentless gaze of the Allied sky. The smoke over Thuringia lingered for days. What had once been a living illusion, chimneys, cottages, a church spire etched against the winter sky, now lay in a scarred wasteland of ash and stone. But beneath the surface, Valentine still breathed, faintly. The Allied bombs had collapsed the upper tunnels, sealed the railway entrance, and shattered the camouflage. Yet deep within, entire chambers remained intact, humming with wounded generators, half-lit corridors, and the echo of voices refusing to die. When German rescue teams arrived, they found the valley unrecognizable. Craters swallowed what had been fields. Trees stood blackened like charred sentinels. The few surviving guards, gray with dust, directed the rescue effort with trembling hands. Beneath their boots, the earth was hollow and dangerous, riddled with pockets of gas and collapsing beams. Each step could open a tomb. Among those pulled from the depths was Otto Schulze. His hair was caked in soot, his spectacles cracked, his coat torn at the seams. For 2 days he had wandered through the remains of his own creation, half mad with exhaustion, tracing the lines of walls that no longer existed. When soldiers finally dragged him out into the light, he shielded his eyes like a man seeing the sun for the first time. To Schulze, Valentine had been more than a military project. It was proof that Germany's mind could outlast its ruin, a triumph of design over destruction. But now, as he stared at the smoking crater that had once been his masterpiece, he felt something far colder than defeat. It was exposure. His illusion, crafted with such meticulous deceit, had been stripped naked before the world. Meanwhile, in London, inside a dim war room lined with maps and tobacco smoke, Flight Lieutenant Edward Mallory stood before a wall of reconnaissance photographs. Across the table, senior officers debated whether Valentin had been the only hidden factory, or merely the first of many. Mallory remained silent, studying the images. He could see where the bombs had struck, how the earth had folded like paper over the underground chambers. The deception still unsettled him, the sheer audacity of it. A whole village, built not for life but for secrecy, one general muttered. If they can hide a factory, they can hide anything. Mallory's reply came softly, almost to himself. Then we must learn to see differently. For weeks afterward, Allied intelligence pored over every frame of aerial film from Germany. They learned to read shadows, to measure inconsistencies in heat and texture. Mallory's methods would become the foundation for a new form of warfare, one fought through perception, through the invisible mathematics of deception and discovery. Back in Thuringia, however, the illusion still demanded blood. The SS arrived within days of the bombing, not to aid the living, but to erase what remained. Any prisoner who had survived the raid was forced to help seal the lower tunnels. They were told the site must never be found again, that Valentin would die with them. Those too weak to work were left where they lay. At night, the survivors could hear the earth groan above them, the echo of bombs replaced by the dull percussion of collapsing roofs. The tunnels smelled of oil and death. Water dripped from ruptured pipes, gathering into pools that reflected the dim orange glow of emergency lamps. In the control room, a single switchboard still crackled faintly, powered by a dying generator. On its dials, Schulze had once monitored production rates, oxygen levels, and ventilation pressure. Now the needles fluttered aimlessly, measuring nothing. He returned to the site against orders. The war outside had become a collapsing wave. The Soviets closing from the east, the Americans from the west. Yet Schulze could not leave. He walked the broken corridors like a priest in a ruined cathedral, his boots echoing on wet concrete. He found one of his workers, a young Polish prisoner, barely alive, pinned beneath a fallen girder. The boy's voice was a whisper. "Why did you hide it?" he asked. Schulze hesitated, kneeling beside him. "To protect it," he said. The boy's eyes flickered open. "From us or from them?" The question hung in the air like smoke, unanswered. Outside, German convoys began evacuating the region. The Reich was burning itself from the inside out. Files were destroyed, witnesses silenced. By early April, the valley was abandoned, left as a ruin within a ruin. Birds returned before the soldiers did. When American forces finally advanced into Thuringia later that month, they found the remnants of Valentin almost by accident. A reconnaissance patrol stumbled upon the cratered village and the faint smell of machine oil rising from a fissure in the ground. Engineers followed the scent into the earth, cutting through twisted beams and concrete until their flashlights found what lay beneath. What they uncovered defied belief. The chambers stretched endlessly, galleries carved into stone, filled with half-finished munitions, blueprints, and the skeletal remains of machines designed for precision death. On the walls, chalk marks still outlined production schedules. Tables were overturned, papers scattered, as if the workers had fled mid-shift. A silence hung there, deeper than any bomb could produce. The silence of industry interrupted by annihilation. Among the recovered documents was Schulze's master plan, still intact beneath a layer of dust. The title read, Project Nabeldorf, Project Fog Village. Every deception was there in ink. False chimney smoke generators, fake laundry lines, even the scripted routines of villagers whose only purpose had been to exist for Allied eyes. It was both brilliant and horrifying. American intelligence officers photographed everything. They mapped the tunnels, catalogued the machinery, and sent reports back to London and Washington. The findings confirmed what many had suspected, but few could prove: that Nazi Germany's final months had been consumed by a mania for concealment, a desperate attempt to turn invisibility into a weapon. Edward Mallory received one of those reports weeks later. In a quiet London office, he read the description of the site he had bombed from the sky. The words were dry, factual, measurements, coordinates, production statistics. But between the lines, he saw the ghosts. Every photograph, every blueprint, felt like a mirror of his own obsession. He thought of the snowless field, of the patterns that had first betrayed the illusion. And he wondered, how many more valleys had hidden their secrets beneath the surface? How many more lives had vanished in the space between seeing and understanding? For Schulze, the story ended in obscurity. Captured by American troops near Weimar, he was interrogated briefly, then forgotten among thousands of German engineers swept into captivity. His name appeared only once more, in a declassified post-war file noting his technical expertise in underground construction. He never spoke publicly of Valentin. Those who met him in later years said he avoided mirrors. The valley itself became a wound left to heal in silence. Locals avoided it, calling it the hollow ground. Grass grew over the craters. Birds nested in the ruins of the church steeple. Children played among the stones, unaware of what lay beneath their feet. Only the earth remembered. In the years that followed, Valentin would vanish from memory almost as completely as it had once hidden from the sky. Its blueprints were locked away in archives, its tunnels sealed and forgotten. But for those who had seen it, from above or below, the lesson endured. War, they realized, is not only fought with weapons or courage, it is fought with illusion, with what men choose to see and what they choose to hide. When spring came to Thuringia in 1945, it arrived quietly, not with triumph, but with the strange stillness that follows exhaustion. The snow melted into the craters left by the bombs, and wildflowers began to creep across the rubble where the fake village had once stood. The war was ending. But the secrets buried beneath the valley floor refused to rest. American engineers spent weeks mapping what remained of Project Nabeldorf. They brought down portable floodlights and generators, illuminating halls that hadn't seen daylight since their creation. Every beam of light revealed another layer of the illusion. Hand-painted rafters over reinforced steel, brick walls that were hollow facades, windows that opened onto nothing but concrete. What had been designed to deceive the human eye now looked like a fever dream of precision and madness. The soldiers who explored it felt the weight of something far larger than a single operation. They found sleeping quarters carved into rock, marked by chalk tallies on the walls. In one corner, a stack of discarded ID tags, foreign names, numbers without stories. Beside them, a rusted typewriter still held the last sentence of an unfinished report. Production will resume once the next shipment arrives. No one ever sent that shipment. By June, Allied command ordered the tunnels sealed. Too dangerous, they said. Too unstable. Explosives were set, and the entrances collapsed once more. The valley exhaled a cloud of dust, a last breath from the lungs of a machine built for war. Yet even as the earth closed over Valentin, its shadow began to spread across history in ways few could have foreseen. For men like Edward Mallory, the experience left an imprint that outlasted peace. After the war, he was reassigned to a new British intelligence unit, one focused not on fighting wars, but on preventing them through surveillance and analysis. The lessons of Valentin were written into his work. He taught his recruits to distrust appearances, to look for the unnatural within the ordinary. The field that cooled too slowly, the chimney that never smoked, the shadow that betrayed geometry. His methods became the foundation for Cold War reconnaissance, the way the West learned to see through the Soviet veil. From German forests to Siberian plains, the ghost of Valentin hovered over every photograph, every analysis. The invisible war of deception had merely changed uniforms. In 1948, Mallory visited Germany one last time. Reconstruction had begun, and cities were rising from rubble. He drove east, following old maps to the valley that had once been a secret. The road wound through quiet hills, past villages rebuilt in pale stone. When he reached Laucha, he found almost nothing, just a meadow, and a faint depression in the ground where the church had stood. Children played nearby, chasing one another through the grass. He stood there for a long while, hat in hand, trying to reconcile the silence with the memory of fire. A farmer approached, curious about the stranger. "You're looking for something?" the man asked. Mallory hesitated. "No," he said softly. "I already found it." He left a small tin of earth from the valley on his desk back in London, a reminder of the difference between what is hidden and what is lost. When he died years later, the tin was found unopened. As for Otto Schulze, his post-war fate was a study in quiet erasure. In 1947, the Americans recruited dozens of German engineers under a program that would later be known as Operation Paperclip. Some built rockets, others aircraft. Schulze's expertise in underground structures drew interest, but his name never appeared on the official lists. A rumor persisted that he had been consulted, unofficially, on the design of Cold War bunkers, a ghost teaching new nations how to bury their fears beneath the ground. He lived out his final years in Bremen under a false identity, designing municipal tunnels and subway stations. To those who worked with him, he was a reserved, meticulous man who avoided conversation about the past. But occasionally, when machinery rumbled or a tunnel echoed too long, he would flinch, as if the sound carried him back to the heartbeat of Valentin. One evening in 1956, an earthquake tremor passed through Thuringia. Locals near Laucha reported hearing a low rumble beneath the fields, like distant thunder. Some claimed it came from the old tunnels, others said it was the earth remembering. When investigators visited the next day, they found small fissures where the ground had shifted. Steam rose faintly from one, the warmth of trapped air, decades old. The valley was never reopened. Nature had taken it back. Grass grew over every scar. The forest crept down the slopes again, hiding the past under roots and silence. Only the faintest traces remained on aerial maps, irregular patterns in the soil, the ghost geometry of deception. Decades later, in the 1980s, a team of historians stumbled upon fragments of Project Nabeldorf while reviewing declassified Allied reconnaissance records. Among the documents was Mallory's first annotated photograph, the one that had started it all. In red pencil, across the snowy landscape, he had written 3 words: "This is wrong." That photograph became the key to rediscovering the forgotten story. Excavations began cautiously, peeling away layers of soil until the uppermost chambers were exposed. Journalists came, cameras followed, and the world saw for the first time what ingenuity and fear had built together. The tunnels had not aged well. Concrete had split, iron had corroded, and the air smelled of rust and damp stone. But in that decay, there was something profoundly human, a reminder that even the grandest illusions crumble, leaving only their outlines behind. Today, a memorial stands on the edge of the valley. It bears no flag, no triumphal inscription, only a simple plaque. Beneath this ground, truth was buried and men were lost. May both be remembered. Visitors who walk there often describe the silence as heavy, as if the earth itself listens. Beneath their feet lie miles of tunnels that once defied the sky, now filled with stillness, their machinery frozen mid-breath. The village that never was has finally found peace in the only form it ever truly knew: disappearance. The story of Valentin endures not as a tale of victory or defeat, but as a mirror held up to the human condition, the eternal struggle between creation and concealment, between what we build and what we choose to hide. In every age, men will seek to master the art of invisibility. Yet history whispers the same warning through the soil of Laucha. No secret stays buried forever. The forest will always remember the sound of engines beneath the earth. The air will always remember the smoke that was not from chimneys. And the world, if it listens closely enough, will hear in that silence the echo of a truth once hidden too well.